is it that drives our Imam away from us? Our own sins. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready for the Imam to come back? If I was to, essentially, we recite the dua of the Imam. Hand on your heart. Go inside of yourself. Are you ready for the Imam to come back? Are you really ready? Let me give you a story. Maybe we'll see how ready we are. About 200 years ago or so, there was a big Ayatollah by the name of Bahbahani. Sayyid Bahbahani, big Ayatollah. You know why he's famous for? He's famous because he took away, or he took down, or he finished off the Akhbari movement. There is a group known as the Akhbariyun, right? Very famous even in this day. In Mashhad, there's a huge group called the Akhbariyun. Akhbar. All they look at is hadith, they don't look at usul al-fiqh. So you found that with the Akhbariyun, they were really elevating themselves within Karbala. Bahbahani is famous that he came and he argued with them and he destroyed their arguments. After him, Shaykh Ansari comes and he basically solidifies the school of the Usulis. So basically what happens is that Ayatollah Bahbahani comes from a place called Bahbahan. And at that time, nobody knew who he was. He was an unknown. And he comes to Karbala. And you know, when he comes to Karbala, as an alim, he finds a small mosque, and over there he leads the 5 daily prayers. Now, as he's leading these 5 daily prayers, he says, look, my responsibility is to give knowledge to the people. So after Fajr prayers, right, what he does is that he gives a hadith, and then he goes. The Dhuhr time comes, he gives a hadith, and he goes. He says, one day comes where he gives a tradition. And in that tradition, he says that the not coming of the Imam is actually good for you. And you can imagine the people, right? The Mukhi gets up first of all and he says, you know, what have you said? We pray for the Imam every day. And he pushes him. And they say that to the extent that people grab the Musalla from under him and they pull it. And they kick him out of the mosque. And Ayatollah Bahbahani says, but what I've said is not wrong. Because you're not ready for the coming of the Imam. It's more than possible if the Imam was to come, you would turn against the Imam. Even though we need to pray for him to come back all the time. Because that cancer is spreading in society. The disbalance is spreading in society, right? And another thing that we forget a lot of times, that we need to remember, is the Imam is for everyone. When we talk about the perfect utopia when the Imam comes, it's for all of humanity's benefit, not just for us. You know, a lot of times in the media they say, right, that the coming of the Imam, these people are waiting for the Mahdi, they're going to blow things up, Armageddon, this, that, the other. The fact of the matter is that no, they've understood it wrongly. When the Imam comes, he comes for humanity to remove their suffering, whether you're a Jew or a Christian or an atheist. As long as you are living on this earth, whether you're an animal, the Imam is coming to bring balance to this universe almost, balance to people's souls. This is why you find a tradition that says, when the Imam comes, you will see that a lion and a sheep will be drinking from the same river. Does that mean the fitrah of the lion disappears and the fitrah of the sheep disappears? No, the tradition says this, because there will be so much justice in the world, there will be so much balance in the world, that even an ant will feel the justice of Allah on the world. You see, the only other time in history that you find this is the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You do not find this justice anywhere, but when the Mahdi comes, you'll find this justice. That's what that movement of the Mahdi is. Coming back to Ayatollah Bahbahani. You know what Ayatollah Bahbahani says? He says he gets up and he goes into his house. They rejected him, they pushed him away. But in the tradition it says that at Fajr time there is a knock on the door. And so he says, who is it? The guy says, it's the Mukhi. He says, look, you already chucked the musalla on my face yesterday. What do you want to do? Break my legs now? Why should I open the door? He says, no, open the door. I want to ask for forgiveness. He says, really, why? He says, I'll tell you, just open the door. Opens the door, the Mukhi falls to the ground, grabs him by the feet, says, forgive me. He says, why are you asking for forgiveness? He says, last night I saw a dream. And in my dream I saw, it was the dhuhr of the Imam alayhi salam. He says, when the Imam came, I went to him. And I said to him, Mawla, we're ready for you. We pray for you every day. We want that we help you. You know what the Imam says? The Imam looks at him and says, he says that, can I have your house, for example? Because I need this for my revolution. So the guy says, no, Bismillah, you can have my house. And then the Imam turns around and says to him, but you know what? Those clothes that you're wearing, you haven't given khums on them. They're my right. Give me your clothes. And in this way, he says, that crop that you're eating, the zakat hasn't been given to it. That horse that you have, you don't realize, but that horse was usurped. And one by one, the Imam then says to him one criteria after another criteria, after another criteria, until that point comes where this man looks at the Imam without realizing it. He says to the Imam, Imam, have you come to make my life easier, or have you come to make my life harder? At that moment I woke up and I realized that I'm not ready for the Imam alayhi salam. You see, what is the Imam? The Imam is absolute sacrifice for the divine will. Now you tell me, are you ready for that absolute sacrifice?